Everyone, welcome to the PPC radio show with Shelly Shell Williams, DJ Kid Disco, me, myself, and I, Seabury, Cindy, whatever you want to call me. And then we have our special guest today, James Wesley Williams, aka Uncle King, aka King, aka Jim, aka Brother. You got a whole bunch of names.
He got a whole bunch of names. Is that what it is?
He got a whole bunch of names. So we're gonna just dive into our commercials first and get that going, and then we will be back with James Wesley Williams.
Thank you very much.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams, co-hosted by Shelly Shell Williams. Music by DJ Kid Disco on the Grown Folks Radio. Yeah. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Cinda Williams here, and welcome to the Grown Folks Radio World. Wednesday and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, I co-host the Melanated Morning Show with DJ Kid Disco.
We got some important stuff to talk about.
Wednesday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern, I host the PPC Radio Show with Shelly Shell Williams.
Hey everybody, it's Shell Williams, Philly's Oprah.
We got some important stuff to talk about.
Fridays at noon Eastern, I present the PPC Podcast. It drops on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and many more. Please join me for real talk, great guests, lots of laughs, and powerful, precious conversations that can fill your self-help treasure chest with gems.
And don't forget to join the ladies of Grown Folks on Melanated After Dark.
Listen. You only think you know Cinda Williams, co-host of the PPC Radio Show and the Melanated Morning Show. You've seen her in films with some of the GOATs. You may have even heard her sing her way to the top. You don't have to judge the book by its cover. You can get the book and read it cover to cover. I'm talking about Pink Panty Confessions by Cinda Williams, available in paperback and digital format in all good bookstores. I would probably look in Amazon.
Pink Panty Confessions, the book.
Hey yo, what's my name? You think it's a game? Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. X gon' give it to you. Yeah. Where the hood at? DFS. Yo, get it twisted. This rap shit is mine. 1, 2, 1, 2, come through, run through. Gun who? Oh, you don't know what the gun do? I've been long enough now. Stop being greedy. Keep it real, partner. Stop. Let's get it on. Down, open up shop. Oh, no. That's how rough riders roll. Yo, I'm slipping. I can't get up. I hate who I love. I was born to die. Wings but can't fly. First things first, I will until I'm stretched in a hearse.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans, who we are, what we miss, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Can the vaccines give you COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 from a vaccine. Why should I get vaccinated? Protecting yourself also helps protect the people around you. Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
Yeah.
BFM Radio.
So are you ready?
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
PPC, 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 yeah. PPC, 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 yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Don't you dare miss your blessings. Powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. BBC, yeah. A power tool for you. BBC, yeah. A power tool for you and me. BBC,
Welcome to the PPC radio show. I want to say hi to James. What's up, James?
What's
How's
up,
it going?
James?
Everything is fine. Thank you very much. Good to be with each and every one of you, Eddie and Shelly and my
Hey, James.
favorite. What's wrong?
You know I don't call you James, right? I don't call you James.
No, you never call me James. And
I
I'm
was
like,
saying hi to James Patterson on.
oh, my bad. Oh, God. And
That's all
Shelly
right.
was laughing. Shelly, you were laughing at me.
Man,
No, seriously, were you laughing at me?
I was. I'm sorry.
I mean, you just broke out.
I'm sorry.
James Patterson told me to tell you happy birthday. And,
Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday.
Well,
I was
thank
laughing
you.
with you.
and
Look at you. Slow down.
here. Malik Ishmael is here. Thank you for coming. Yes. Okay. So
Ooh.
now King James.
Okay, that's better. I recognize it.
Welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you were able to come back. I know last year we tried to do this and we had some technical issues. So I'm very happy that things seem to be working well there. And I had a little buffering here, so let's pray for me. That I'm good. So we started to get into your life. That really interested me because I mean, you have such a big life. There's a lot we can talk about, but I really want to know about your childhood with my dad and your brothers and sisters and grandma and papa. Tell us about growing up. You said you were born where? Were you born?
Martins Ferry, Ohio.
Okay, Martins Ferry.
Do you hear me?
Oh my gosh, what the devil is a lie? Because I'm telling you, you was fine before. What in the world?
Ohio, right across from what?
Okay.
You guys are freezing. I
Okay.
can't.
Yeah.
What did you say, Shelly?
You were freezing. I'm like, it started just like it started before. So you got to say something because the devil want to keep something you got to say. So come on, tell the world what you got to say. Come on, we ready.
Martins Ferry, Ohio, right across the river from Wheeling, West Virginia. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, from Wheeling, West Virginia, a little town, a little diverse community of people from all over the world who came there to work in the steel mill and work in the coal mines. And so that's the little community that I was born in. Very few African-American people, unfortunately, but it was mostly consist of the Williams family, our family, mostly. But that was where I was born, but that's not where I lived, and that's not where I stayed. But fond memories about Martins Ferry, and still is for the most part. Yes.
So can you tell them the story that you told on the podcast about your birth?
Mm-hmm.
I could do it quickly. Yes,
Okay.
I could do it quickly. I was born in those days, back in the day, prehistoric times, a few years ago. I was born in a house, and the doctor for us, for African American people who were across the river, Ohio River, to Wheeling, West Virginia. At the time of my birth, there was only my dad, my auntie, and my mother, of course. And I was on the way I was on the way and there was nobody there. So my dad had to get in the car and drive to Wheeling to get the doctor and bring her. It was a female doctor, praise the Lord. I love that. She was a Black female doctor, very good to my knowledge, and brought her to our home. Well, unfortunately, during that time, during the absence of my dad picking her up and everything, I came into the world. And when they arrived at the home, as far as I know, when they arrived at the house, I had already passed. The doctor checked me out and spanked me and slapped me around a little bit, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. And the doctor said, well, I could save your mother. I could save your wife, talking to my father. And he said, save my wife. So they put me over in a corner in a bed. And of course, they wrapped me up and stuff like that. In about, my dad said 20 minutes to a half hour, they heard noise in the area where they placed my carcass over there in the corner. They heard a noise, and the noise was me sucking my finger.
Mm.
And they pulled the sheath off, and lo and behold, either I came back to life or I was not dead. My dad at the time tended to believe that even though I wasn't breathing, life was still in my body. And from that point on, well, until I was 17 years old or so, I sucked my finger. I never did know why, but I sucked my finger for that long. And lo and behold, my dad eventually told me, well, that's the reason why you are alive. You suck the air and you breathe. And my dad coined the phrase, being born again. He said, you were born twice. You were born of the spirit, you're born of your mom and dad. That's the story. Mm-hmm.
Wow, very cool. I love that story. Stephen McPeak says, hi. Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
Steve. Oh, did you hear me?
Yeah, he heard you. He heard
What's
you.
up, dude?
James Patterson said you were meant to be in this world. That's an amazing story. Great story. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to spend some time on your childhood because I don't know. I've never thought to ask. I asked Daddy questions, but Daddy never really indulged much. So what was it like growing up? In the beginning, I guess it was just you, him, and Anna Lee, and Sadika, and then Uncle Jacob came later.
Yeah.
Growing up, preacher's kids. You were preacher's kids. So what was it?
Well, it was different. It was different because my dad never was stationary. We went from community to community, not just in Ohio, but we traveled around the Midwest and the South, wherever there was the work for my dad to do. So we traveled a lot. Coming up as preacher's kids, it was kind of difficult because every place we went to, we had to clean, okay? My mother was very articulate and very clean, worthy. She's very clean. Everything had to be perfect and in its place. And so we spent most of our youth, and I am not bragging or anything like that, but I'm telling you, we spent most of our youth cleaning up parsonages, which are the homes of the pastor and his wife and children. So we spent a lot of time doing that. But it gave me a different vision of life in that I traveled and moved so often that it became an earmark for who I am today. I have traveled a lot. And that was mostly my younger days. It was quite exciting. Your dad, my brother, he was like the protectorate. He watched over us and he did all the things my mom and dad couldn't do because they were away. Dad was in school. As a matter of fact, we stayed on the campus in Atlanta, Georgia. And we lived in the dormitories. And that was quite an experience. I can share with you one experience when I wanted to go out of the apartment or the dorm, and Sonny, my brother, your father, didn't want me to go. And so I tried to get out of the door, and Sonny got in front of me. And you know what he did? This is what your dad did to me. And I'm getting all choked up right now. I'm okay. I'm okay. But he hit me in the face, knocked me out because he wanted me to stay in. He was told to keep us in the dorm room. Now that's what he did. Now I've not told that story before, so this is my first time. This is the entrance into my young life. But he hit me hard. And when I woke up, he was standing over me. A little bit worried, but note I said a little bit worried, but that was the kind of person he was. That's the kind of person that he grew up to be. And I think he continued that up into his adult life. He was
my behind remembers.
I'm sorry?
My behind remembers.
I guess he's a strong man.
He was a strong man, and he was a protectorate of a sort. He protected his brothers and his sisters, and that's one of the elegant, beautiful things about him as a young person. That's what he did. That's who he was, and I depended upon him. Life and death situations. I don't want to go into the whole story, but the life and death situation, Sonny was there. I give him that credit.
So Earl says hi. Hi, Earl.
Earl.
So let me ask you this, King. When did you start knowing that you wanted to be a creative sort of person? I mean, when did that begin for you?
When I was maybe 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I was, of course, I went to church, and my mother loved music, of course. And she would always ask me to sing. And so I was always the person that she would demand that I would get up and sing and do this, that, and the other. And I can tell you a story. One time on Easter, she wanted me to sing in the afternoon service. You know how Black churches, we do afternoon services and they dress up and put on the new garb and everything. Well, I was in Newcastle, Indiana. And I was standing by the window, and my mother, Rosa Mae Williams, she said, "It's time for you to go over and sing." And I said, "No." She said, "It's time for you to go sing." I said, "No." And then she gave me that look that you're quite familiar with, Cindy. I said, "Mommy, I don't want to sing. I have sung so many places. I don't want to sing." And the song was, "Little David, play on your heart, hallelujah, hallelujah. Little David, play on your heart, hallelujah." I could not, I just refused to do it. And my mother she's kind of if you don't do what she tell you to do, she would be quite angry. And she had her own way of expressing herself. But this time, to my shock, after I was very adamant and stood in her face and said, "No," she started to laugh. She laughed. And that experience was an earmark for our relationship all these years, because I always remember that despite the fact that she wanted me adamantly to sing, she respected the fact that I did not want to sing this time. To me, that's quite a story, because because she would never just suspend what she wanted to do, and she would always make me do it, but I didn't do it. So a lot of our our time, because we were alone a lot, because Dad was gone traveling all over the place. We did games, we played, we did talent shows. Every weekend we would do poems, and plays, and music, and all of that. So that really got me. That was my call in life. And that wasn't like a religious thing. It was just something that I felt on the inside. That, sure, I imagine religion was a part of it, but it wasn't religion. It was God, in my opinion. So that's what I did. That's how I learned. And I learned it to the extent that am I talking too much? If you want me to shut up, then I can.
No, you're not talking too much.
And then one birthday, my dad and mom sat us down to eat, and my dad bought me a 45 RPM record. Eddie probably understand what a 45 RPM is. Cindy, do you remember the little round?
I do.
Yeah, he bought me a 45 RPM that was very popular on the radio. And when he bought me that record, it was like Santa Claus in the
Apparently, you haven't seen my whole.
The 45. Remember the thimble that went inside the 45?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the thimble, the little plastic thimble as well.
So it could stay in place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I got a box of 45s right now for my mom.
You do?
Mm-hmm. They're right upstairs.
You probably can sell them, girl. Shoot.
Look.
Sit on the Eddie.
He ain't got the kind of money I want for him.
Yeah. Yeah, so my life was filled with creativity. And my mother was the impetus. A lot of times she was the impetus for that. So I branched out on my own. I was 5, 6, 7, that age. And from that time on, I had so much to see because I was an observer. I saw things, and I examined things, and I experienced a lot of things. And so the things I experienced, I was able to eventually write these things down in music and in song and in poetry and in plays, et cetera, and so forth. So I spent a better part of my life doing that, which was me. But it, strangely enough, Will, well, I call her Will, strangely enough, Will, it wasn't where I settled. It was what I knew I could do, but it wasn't like I settled in. That was the totality of who I was as a person, because I had a natural inclination to search and to examine people and observe people. And in that way of living and thinking and believing, it took me a lot of places, and I had a lot of experiences that I did not forget. And so that's the magic. It wasn't my magic, believe me. It was the magic that I felt for living and for life and for observing. Just like I look at Shelley and see how beautiful she is. And so I observed that, how beautiful she is. She may not know it, and she may not even understand it or receive it, but I can see it. I can see that she had that spark of life. I saw it in my niece when she used to watch me play piano in the basement of her dad's house. And I would spend hours, and of course I'm self-taught of learning to play and playing music. And she would always sit there. She would never say anything. She would just sit there and stare at me in the basement. and she was very quiet and pensive. And I could see that spark of creativity and life in her, in my niece. And the rest is just history as it relates to me seeing that in her. What she did with it was on her.
Can you play piano, Cinda?
Me? No. I'm a singer.
You can't play it all. Like you never wanted to play?
I did. I played clarinet. But when King left, he took the piano with him, and there was no instruments in my house. And it was too expensive for our family. Too many of us. and not enough money for that kind of excess. So I used the tool that I had that was free, and that was my voice and my body and my mind. So I have a couple of questions for you. Stephen McPeak asks, when did you start writing? I want to say thank you to Chris. You do your thing. Thanks for being with us. And hi, Vaughn, Sincere Martin. Nice to see you. So when did you start writing, King?
I think I wrote my first piece, and it was about being Black when I was maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade. One of the things that we had to do in this particular class was to write something relative to who you are and do the presentation in front of the class. And I wrote something. I was not afraid to. We went to very diverse churches. Schools. It wasn't like all Black schools. We went to a lot of white schools because of the nature of my dad's job. But I wanted to do something relative to being Black. And I started the line by the first fired, the last hired. They are the idiomatic things that's relative to being Black. That's how I started. I don't know the rest of it. But
how old were you? How old were you?
I was 8 years old.
I was 8. I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, writing like that?
Yes, because I learned words, and I love to read, as Cindy does. I was a word person. I like words.
Yeah, I wordsmith. I like that.
Yeah, words. Yeah.
Really, you know all the best words, as our President Trump used to say. You know all the
Google the word.
So you started writing poetry. Okay, I want to jump ahead.
Before you jump ahead, one question. You said the nature of your father's job in white areas. Did you grow up? I don't know if it's a good word. Did you grow up poor? Did you have money? Were you middle class? Or you know what I mean? Because a lot of us grew up in poverty.
Yeah. We were middle class. We were middle class relative to being Black. It was middle class because when a pastor or preacher in the community was a step up higher than most African American people are. And so we were middle class, and my mother and father, they dressed us as such. And so we read books and we wore nice clothes and et cetera and so forth. But that wasn't the only churches we pastored, but predominantly it was white mixed churches, strange as it may sound. And my dad took advantage of that. That's the wisdom and the prophetic value of Pastor J.C. Williams Sr., my dad.
Yeah, it's like back in the 50s.
Yeah.
40s and 50s, yeah.
Yeah.
Papa was so ahead of his time. And we're going to talk about that too. But let's take our break. Let's get our commercials done so we can come back and really, because I want to get into
No commercial. No commercial.
Am I going to do commercials?
No commercial.
Cool. So we can move on. Mm-hmm. So, Papa, the church denomination was Methodist, straight Methodist, not African Methodist, right?
He refused. My uncle, my dad's twin brother, was an AME, African Methodist. Mm-hmm. My father chose not to go into that. Of course, my dad went into ministry first, and then his twin brother, Uncle Esau, came in after him. He chose the AME, African Methodist Church. My dad was a straight up United Methodist person. Mm-hmm. To our advantage.
Well, you know what? You know how you tied a thing together? You said the twins, there was twins. So now you realize where the twins came from with your sister. Because you know how you twins come to now. I'm like, oh, that's where your twins come from.
Exactly. You got it, Shelley.
Everybody was waiting for twins because we knew somebody was going to have them.
Somebody
Yeah,
has
right,
twins.
right.
Thank God for the twins. All right.
Exactly.
My father always knew it was going to be her. My father always told Sadika, you're going to have twins.
Wow.
For her whole life.
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he told her. And so when she had those babies, and daddy had just passed away, it was like, oh my God, this is what he said. This is what he said. She believes she got both of mommy and daddy in those kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
So, okay. So I know one of the memories I have most of my childhood was watching Soul Train. I will watch Soul Train when it was just in Chicago at that point. It was not in California yet. It started in Chicago. A lot of people don't know that. It was black and white. And I will never forget you of being on Soul Train. So you eventually moved from the church music and all that kind of stuff. And I know you and daddy did some bebop kind of stuff, a cappella singing, but then you became King James in your band, which was called, what were they called? Black Lightning, right?
Yes.
So tell me about all the band stuff and how that happened, because you were huge in those days.
Well, it's kind of too much to really, because you went back to Soul Train. That's a long way back, and it's a long way to where I am today. However, yes, I did a lot of shows with the Shy Lights, a group called the Shy Lights. I think Eddie would remember them. Shelley probably too young. The Shy Lights. So I traveled with them. I traveled with a lot of great Al Greens. A lot of great.
I look old, but I ain't that old.
Whoa, dog. Hold up.
I don't remember those Shy Lights.
You don't remember the Shy Lights out of Chicago?
No.
Have you seen her?
My mom and them used to listen to that.
Well, he knows you're a DJ, kid.
You're a DJ, but that's funny. I like it.
You should know this stuff, dude.
Shy Lights are. I remember the Shy Lights, and didn't you do like I Continue to Turner?
That was when I had the band, and I traveled with I Continue to Turner, Al Green, the Stylistics, the Shy Lights, all of them. I traveled the country
with them.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, I did all of that, but that's just the beginning. I mean, that's when I started. And so that's only a small part of what I did as an entertainer. I didn't settle for that. I eventually quit. I quit the music. I quit all of that. And I went to another discipline, which was okay for me. Well, that's the nature of who I am. So I never did settle down. I just went on and on because I did a lot of things. And I don't want to get into all of that. But yes, Cindy, I did a lot of music in those days. And that's it. I don't know what else to say about it.
I remember, one of the things I remember most, besides the how loud you were. You had the biggest freaking voice ever. And the sweat. You were so passionate when you would perform. It was like sweat would be streaming with this big old afro and those bill bottom pants and all. You did that whole funky look.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. And those were the days that really framed me into what I believe was my interest into music, soul music, et cetera, and so forth. However, I liked a lot of different kinds of music, and that influenced me to not just concentrate on just soul music. I concentrated on just music as I understood it, relative to my movement, travel, experiences. I've had one, and then whatever. Yeah. I don't want to get into all that.
Are you going to write? Did you write a book about any of this, or did you?
I've never written a book. I've written a lot of plays. I've written a lot of music, but I've never written a book about it. And my partner has been pushing me to do something relative to that, because my life scans so much more so much more than I could ever just sit down and talk about to anybody. Cindy, okay, Shelly, hi. Cindy, can I say one thing?
Mhm.
I mean, can I tell you one thing? Are you eating?
I have a piece of candy in my mouth.
Okay. Do you remember Andy?
Yes.
Do you remember when she came to the church and danced with us?
Mhm.
She's from California. Her family, a white family that was very upscale, et cetera, and so forth, in the business. And they couldn't do anything with her. And she had found herself on the streets of California and all that. And she flew there in the plane by her parents, brought her there for your papa, to do something with, because that's what he did, counseling, et cetera, and so forth. That's what I do today. But I just want to say that when she came, her life reversed. Reverse meaning that it wasn't like she did this from started to dance and to sing in our shows, and we did a lot of shows. No, but she found herself when she left. She came by my house. I didn't go to work. I was playing hooky. And she came by and she said, I gotta leave. And she came by and I did my normal talking to her, mentoring and counseling. And she said, I'm not returning. And she had spent maybe a year there in Muncie, Indiana. And she gave me this, and that's what I got. Can you see it? Can y'all see it?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, she would do these kind of things as she was a hooker. Yeah, she was the reason why her parents
Did you reverse all that?
The reason why her parents brought her to Muncie, Indiana to be with my dad, and the creativity that we were doing in that church, and we were doing a lot, is because she was living on the streets, and she was an upscale white person that was living as a hooker on the streets of California, somewhere in California. I don't know if it was LA or wherever it was. And she said, I would do these things. She said, I would do these things. And she did this for me. And I don't know if you can see it and understand it, but it has to do with health. It has to do with healing. And that's what it says. And you can't read it probably, but that's what it said. Okay, she left, and I was the last person to see her in Muncie, Indiana. They found her 2 months later. I'm sure you all know about the Green Hill murders in California. You ever read about this serial killer killed 40 and 50 people in the Green Hill out west? She was one of the people that was murdered after she left my house and she went back to California. I can't tell you what we talked about, but we did talk about it. So that's one of the moving experiences that I had in regards to my gifts and graces relative to seeing people, understanding people, and loving people, hopefully, and doing what I do. And that after I saw it, there is no way for her to understand who I was. But on this, she said, healer. And that's what I was to her at that particular time. But they found
you were a healer to me too, because nobody knew what I was going through and what I had experienced. And I didn't tell anybody because I was just too afraid that God would strike me down and all that kind of stuff. But the music and the dancing and the acting and all of that stuff that we did in the church, which was not at that time. Now everybody does it. Everybody has their dance crew, everybody has their music. When we were doing it back in those days, that wasn't done. And then our church was an interracial church too. So we had American Indians, we had Black, we had white, few Hispanics. That just was not done back then. Papa was a pioneer when it came to so many things. I know he was doing what Martin Luther King ended up doing before Martin Luther King, when Martin Luther King was a little boy, so we had such a rich history when it comes to being pioneers. And so you and grandma doing all that you did in the church and with Papa's, because my grandfather couldn't sing for nothing. He was a terrible singer.
He was horrible. He was a horrible singer.
He was a horrible singer, but he loved music. He was good at doing James Brown dancing, though. He would do James Brown in the pulpit.
Okay, that's a matter of opinion, but go ahead.
As a child, I thought it was cool, but y'all started that very young, and I know that me myself would not. I don't know where I would have ended up in life if I not had that outlet. That was a healing outlet to be able to sing, dance, act, write, do all these things, and church and feel safe. It used to be such a safe place for kids. And that's why we had so many. And you and grandma were a big part of making that whole creative space happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right.
So is that why you transitioned out of professionally performing yourself and came back to teaching and giving that way?
No, that wasn't the reason why. The reason why was when I went to school, went to Ball State and all that, I was involved so much in theater, a lot of theater. And so I was able, based upon the gifts that God has given me, without being too churchy, God has given me to help in that regard. And I was there with you as well. And we did some theater and those kind of things. So from that point of view, I began to learn even more about people, learn about what they do, how they think, where they are. And in doing so, I got involved. I eventually moved out of that whole arena, and I did music for a long time. But I got involved in mental health, of which I am still doing today as a counselor, therapist, et cetera, and so forth. And I got involved in mental health, which gave me another opening to helping people from a different perspective and developing new ideas and different concepts relative to the lives of people. And I have given my life to that emphasis. There is so much more that I can't even talk to you about. It's too much.
I know an hour is not enough time. You need your partner's right. I think you need a book.
I'm agreeing with that. That's why I said that. Where's the book?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You have to tell the world. That's a part of healing the world. If you like to help people, you can help people with your book.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
So King, I remember one thing Daddy talking about when you guys were growing up that was difficult is your features. You got all that Nigerian in us and Blackfoot in us and all this kind of stuff. And I always thought that it was so ironic, our family, because I don't know if it's a Eastern Ohio thing. They speak English with a crispness and articulate. They're so articulate. They're so smart. But yet putting with the stereotype of being a Black family.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that dichotomy. These super brilliant, smart people in those days, that's a Black family, and respect and all of the things that you had to deal with going through that. Like in Newcastle, I heard.
Yeah, Newcastle. You're out. Your network. You back?
Yeah,
you're back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of that influence that is relative to our Williams family in the Williams, Ohio Valley, in that area, is because of the influence of the different races of people. Polish and Russians and Slavic people and Greeks and all of those, we were influenced by that, and we translated that and transferred that to our kids, Cindy and them. That gave us a different kind of articulation relative to who we are. Except when we went to the Black neighborhoods, we went to the Black churches. One Black church that they called me Jimmy Proper Talk. Jimmy Proper Talk, because of the way I spoke. And it's because my speaking had nothing to do with the idioms of being an African American. Of course, you know, I live being a Black person, okay? I am that, a Black person, but it didn't make any difference. And so, but I use that. I use that in my writings. I use that in my thought process. But we were so influenced by different races and cultures. Our friends, our young friends, were Polish and Greek. And my past is full of that flavor, that loving flavor of having friends from different races and different ideas. So we were acquainted with it early, which made it really good for me relative to understanding who people are. Yeah, but so yeah, Cindy, did I answer or did I say it right or a little bit right? Or,
Whatever you said is right. I just know that it was that dichotomy of being, you know, in those days, the education and then being Black at the same time. Is like the Black folks have an issue with you because you're not Black enough, and the white folks have an issue with you because you're Black.
Exactly.
So it's like falling into the cracks, and that's why it was so special that Papa created his own thing.
Yeah.
That incorporated everybody because we didn't fit in anywhere.
We didn't fit in. Exactly. But I enjoyed that. And Dad was the ultimate social activist. He was par excellence in being who he is, and he was committed to that. He was not only committed to the church and committed to his belief system, he was committed to that as well, being a social activist. That's how you and I, even you and I, Cindy, we were raised in that kind of arena of love that was inclusive and not exclusive. And it was not appreciated a lot of times in the Black community. My dad ran into a lot of problems because of his church. And then he ran for mayor. He was the first Black mayor, first Black candidate for mayor in Muncie, Indiana. That too is a novelty in itself.
It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it hasn't happened yet? So
It has not happened. Still ain't never had nobody of color in that office. No. So I know I want to mention Vaughn said that he said a lot, but he said that if you need an editor for your book, he'd be honored to edit, and the stories need to be told. He said, educated and well-read Jimmy Proper Talk, city life and traveling. Many different kinds of people. He was committed to living out the biblical view of people, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I like to have his info. That'd be great.
So we'll make sure we put King's. He's on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook, James Williams.
Wesley Williams. So
yeah. Thank you.
Y'all can connect.
Yeah,
so okay, let's come to today. Okay, you're a therapist now. What would you say is the biggest difference between now and before, or is there any difference? Or from your perspective as an elder, how do you see the world?
How do I see myself or the world?
Self in the world, all of it.
I see the first 3/4 of my life as being a preparation for what I do today. And strangely enough, the decisions I made and what I did as a singular human being in my marriages, quote, my marriages, my children, my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews, it all was a strange dichotomy of life. It was different from anything that I wanted to emulate, which means that everything that I experienced in the work that I did, the places I traveled in the world, Cindy and I traveled different places in the world. We went to many places. I learned so much that brought me to this place where I feel fulfilled in that I know who I am, not goody-goody and all that foolishness, but based upon what I have learned in my travels that have given me, provided me the search. I have always searched for my identity. Knowing that I was an African-American, I was a Black person, needless to say, and I will live and die that way, as you know. But more than that, I learned people. And in learning people and in understanding people and having an affinity towards reading, as Cindy does, we read a lot. I read books. I read all kinds of novels and just whatever I get my hands on, as Cindy does, that created who I am today to the extent that I am connected to people in a very objective way. I am not privileged to like one group of people versus the other group of people, put down the religious people, bring up the religious people, all that. But the music and my ability to write and my ability to speak, and I've spoken many places in the world that I have not shared this information. So this is my first time sharing a lot of what I am saying to you today, because I have never written it down. I've never shared it. But it framed who I am. It framed what I do, which in my opinion, hopefully it will provide young people, because I love to work with young people, help them to see themselves and to understand the beauty of who they are and what they can do with their life. And I'm not limited to just young people. My work extends as far as the Ukraine and Russia and England, and this is what I do today. This is the compilation of what I do today. So my younger life brought me to this place. A lot of the work that I've done and learned has come through Cinda Williams, because she was the primary person relative to who I am as a person that gave me the insight, because music that flowed through my head, I always would hear her voice, regardless of what I did and how many songs I've written, and I've written a lot, I still would hear her voice, which made me a little prejudiced against others, but I just couldn't help it. But in doing so, I created words and dialogue and understanding, and she was the light that provided me the impetus to write in certain ways, as I still do, and as I'm about to do today, as I do other things. So that started when I was 4 and 5. When I was 3 and 4, I remember seeing things. I remember seeing people. I remember going places. People thought that I was sick, and that I would have seizures. Little do they know that I was going to a lot of different places and seeing a lot of different things. Those things that I used to see and understand manifest now, where I understand it better as an elder adult.
You died twice. I mean, you were born twice. I mean,
yeah,
you were born twice.
Miracles everywhere, right? He was walking miracle. Look.
Yeah, exactly. And who can you tell that to? Nobody. So
you can tell it in the book. That's right.
I can tell it in the book.
And Vaughn, we're gonna be James Wesley Williams. Look him up on Facebook. We're about to the end. So James, what do you have going on right now that you want to share with everyone?
Well, quickly, I am dealing with the international mental health trauma, and the international trauma, generational trauma relative to the wars, et cetera, and so forth, working with immigrants, and we do seminars in different parts of the world, and bringing that together, and we're writing and doing things relative to that. We're researching and searching to understand mental health and what it is doing and what it is not doing. My dad told me once upon a time before he passed that mental health will be the signature for this coming generation. And then he told me, he said, you are involved in that. At the time, I didn't know what the heck he's talking about, but I do now. He said, you will be a part of that. And he started to cry, which meant that it meant something to him, because at the time I was working in mental health. So that's what I do. And that's what I teach. And that's who am I about. It doesn't deny any of the other things that I do, and I do a lot. But mental health, the health of human beings, is my main priority for living.
Well, that's why we do this show. I mean, we have all kind of folks on this show, but people like you can help so many just by your words. James Patterson said, I could listen to you for hours.
I know, right? I'm like, I got 10 more questions. Can I just it's with 10 more questions?
Yeah, but we really we're thankful that you were able to come this time and our tech worked out. So thank you so much. Kid Disco, you got something you want to share? You got anything coming up?
Can he hear me?
Yeah.
Started another one.
The last person that inspired me was Kid Disco, was Eddie.
Oh, okay. Can you tell him how so he can get that look off his face?
He inspired me because I felt him when I was watching your show in regards to Mother's Lament.
Mm-hmm.
I felt him. I felt his spirit, and it was sincere and it was obvious to me. And this is what I do. I've always wanted to not embarrass him, but I wanted to share that with him. And that relative to that, I felt him as a human being.
We can't. I don't know if you say anything, Disco, but or was that just all internal?
Drama is what that was, the old Scorpio.
Wow. Thank you. Podcast. Hashtag just my opinion. It's only a little 10-15 minute rant.
Okay.
Just to let folks know what's on my mind. Just my opinion. Hashtag just my opinion.
Cool. That's your new podcast?
I started
I
Monday.
like that.
Awesome.
I like it.
Very cool. Just my opinion. We all support him. Where are you putting it? Is it on all the platforms?
Yep.
All right. So check out. Is it going to be under Eddie Davis or DJ?
No, just my opinion, and she has to pull all the information out of you. Where's it going to be? Is it going to be under Eddie Davis?
No.
How do you find it? Could you please give a drop? Could you please give the information?
It's just my opinion. And it is under DJ Kid Disco and
on all your major podcast platforms.
Yeah, that part. Yeah. You're the commercial part. I don't know how to commercial.
She had to pull it all out of you. Like, where do we find it?
It's so funny.
All right, Shelly, what you got going on?
What do I have going on? 30 interviews, 30 days. Today is day 16, and we got however many to go. Halfway through, still going. 30 years, Urban Expressions, and just keep going. I feel like the more I do it, the more I learn, huh?
All right.
Yeah. But I have one question. You said something about identity. I really need to get it out. I can't wait. One more second. King James, you said you found your identity, and it wasn't necessarily being a Black, but how did you get to the point where you understood your identity? I needed to get there because I'm not there. I'm trying to figure this out.
You're already there. You're already there. The question is not to me, it's to yourself. You're already there. You just don't know it. You're already there and you just don't know it and realize it. And once you knock down that barrier, thinking that you're not qualified or not good enough, you will understand exactly who you are. And once you find out, you will excel. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop that. It's not true. It's not true. Identity is the thing that keeps us who we are and demands our presence. If you don't do it, you'll lose it.
Ooh. I don't want to lose it.
I know you don't, and you have it, but you don't realize the magnitude of who you are as a human being. You don't realize it. You're always trying to fix it.
You're right. I was hoping you was gonna fix it right there. I was like,
Ain't nothing to fix, Shelly. I think that's what he's saying is nothing to fix. So stop trying to fix it. Just be you. That's it. Just
got it.
be you.
Understood. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And Elias Malik Jenkins said, you got to know you are there. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
Thank
There
you.
you go. Yeah.
Okay, well, he just put the stamp. I receive it. I receive it, and I pray I can walk in it. But
And you can. Don't pray that you can. You can. Do it. And the prayers will follow you.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. This week, I have on the PPC podcast, Eddie Faulkner, Coach Eddie Faulkner, the Steelers.
Great.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting conversation. And he's on the podcast, and then he'll be on the show next week. Eddie Faulkner.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for all your comments and everyone that's stuck with us. Share this, please. And we will see you next week. Thank you, King. Thank you, James.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right. Love you guys.
Bye, everybody.